Hey there, this is John Gibson, creator of the Body Evolve Body Transformation Coaching Program. And today I want to talk to you about willpower. Now, everyone kind of blames willpower for the reason why they can't do X, Y, or Z. They can't, they struggle with cravings because of the willpower, lack of willpower. They can't work out because they don't have the willpower to go, or whatever it may be. Now, willpower is a real thing. Now, and you may have heard that willpower is similar to a muscle, that it can be fatigued or something like that. And to be honest, that is true. All of the research that based on willpower shows this, that it is just like a muscle. So it can be fatigued, but along with that, it can also be strengthened. Now let me share with you one story or one study that actually kind of shows this. What these researchers did is they brought some people into this room, and they were really really cruel to them. They actually brought them in and they had baked some cookies in the room. So the whole room smelled like chocolate chip cookies. And they had a plate of chocolate chip cookies sitting there in the middle of the room on this kind of coffee table thing. Now, one group of people who came in the room were told, you can eat the chocolate chip cookies, okay? The other group that came into the room were told, you cannot touch the chocolate chip cookies. You are supposed to eat this little bowl of radishes. Okay, so they had to avoid eating those chocolate chip cookies and eat these radishes that I'm gonna guess they probably didn't really want to eat. And they were told that the study was to kind of look at taste and their taste perception and things like that. So here these people are in there for about 15 to 20 minutes with these chocolate chip cookies. One group was able to eat them, the other group had to resist eating them. And they actually have footage of these people like reaching down, grabbing a chocolate chip cookie and smelling it and putting it back down, or kind of turning it over, looking at it and setting it back down. No one ate any cookies, but they were all kind of, doing something with it, or kind of watching it, or else they, look away and kind of glance back at the cookies and things. So they were all challenging their willpower. And then as soon as they finished, the researchers came in and said, great, the study's over, but hey, we have this other survey that we'd like you to take. And they kind of, they're all college students, so they want to kind of to convince them all to do it. And they said, well, we're kind of comparing college students to high school students. And so far, high school students have shown to be actually smarter in this little puzzle that we have. So we want to see if college students can be smarter. And so they're building on their ego. So these college students are saying, well, hey, yeah, I'm going to do that survey. And so what the survey was is they had to do a puzzle. And the puzzle was impossible to complete. I mean, there was no possible way to solve it. And they just wanted to see how long these people would actually sit there and work on that, because this also taxes willpower. And what they found is those people who were able to eat the cookies were actually able to spend about 20 minutes on the puzzle before they gave up. Those who had to resist the cookies, they were only able to spend about 9 minutes on that puzzle. Now, we can look at this and say, well, it's better to not give into, or to give into the cookies and eat the cookies than it is to actually avoid the cookies when it comes to doing puzzles or something like that. But the idea is those people who had to resist those cookies had to exercise their willpower. Then when they went over to the puzzle, they had to continue to exercise their willpower, because their willpower was saying, hey, you don't want to be here with this puzzle, but you can go a little bit longer. And so that's kind of what their willpower was. So the longer they pushed to do that puzzle, the harder they were working their willpower. So from this study and a few other studies I'm going to share with you, we see that willpower is not like, we don't have willpower for avoiding certain treats. And then we don't have a separate willpower for not killing our kids when they start acting up. And we don't have another willpower for dealing with our spouses or with our significant other. We don't have separate willpowers. We have one willpower. And that willpower is fatigued by different things that we do throughout the day. You see, another study wanted to look at and see if there's, or what else can tax our willpower. So avoiding cookies is one way to do that. But another study took these people who loved to shop. So this is their passion. They love to go out and shop. And they said to these people, hey, we're going to take you shopping. Here is X amount of money. I can't remember how much they gave them, but it was a lot of money. Let's go shopping. And they took them all out. But what they did is they had one group where they said, when we shop, we're going to give you 2 choices of shirts. We'll hold up 2 shirts. You have to choose which one you want. And then we can move on to the next item of clothing, and we'll kind of work our way around until you spend all the money you want. And then the other group, they would say, what we'll do is we're going to hold up 6 to 8 choices of shirts or pants or whatever, and you can choose which one you want. Now, thinking about that, honestly, you would think that, well, hey, with the more choices you have, the better you would feel, because hey, we want choices, right? We want to have as many choices as possible. But what the interesting thing is they found with this study is as soon as they finished shopping, they had them do another puzzle that they could not, or that was unsolvable. And they want to see how long they would do that. And they found that those people who had only 2 choices were able to go longer on the puzzle. And those who had more choices were able to, or struggled on the puzzle. They didn't have the willpower to continue. So another thing we find is making choices itself, just having more options, taxes our willpower. Partly because here's what's happening. You've got 6 options. When you make one choice, what you're saying is, I am now not choosing these other 6. And while you're making that choice, there's a lot of times where we go, well, you know, this one looks good, but this one over here also looks good. So we kind of narrow it down, but we've already made a choice to narrow it down to maybe 2 or 3. And then we have to narrow it down again and make another choice. And inside we're kind of saying, well, now I'm giving up this one. So because I'm choosing this, I'm giving up these other ones. And then we keep doing that until eventually we make that final decision. But that taxes our willpower. So there's a lot of things that can tax that and fatigue that. Now, to give you a few examples of things that actually can tax our willpower, one is resisting things. So resisting that cookie, or resisting something that you want and not getting that. So if you love to shop, resisting going shopping, that can tax your willpower. The other is actually giving in to things that we don't necessarily want. So for example, again, if we have a cookie sitting here, and you sit there and say, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this, you're already taxing your willpower by saying I don't want it. Then when you eat it, you also tax your willpower. You may think, well, if I give into it, then my willpower won't be as bad. But actually, once you give into it, you tax your willpower, because internally now you're saying, I shouldn't have eaten that, I shouldn't, why did I do it, why am I so weak? So you're kind of beating yourself up. So, and that goes on to the next one. Another thing that taxes our willpower is actually beating ourselves up over something. So if you were to just eat the cookie and just say, you know what, it's fine, that's no big deal. It doesn't tax your willpower as much as if someone were to say, oh, why did I do that? Why am I so weak? Now also we've got traveling. Traveling taxes our willpower because it is a stressor on our body. And we've also got lack of sleep. When someone doesn't sleep as well, their willpower won't be as strong. You might notice when you have a poor night's sleep, the next day you give into cravings more. And then lastly, one of those is also being forced to do something that you don't want to do. So for example, if you go to work out, but you don't want to go to work out, but you're doing it, that's also taxing your willpower, because you may feel like, well, someone's forcing me to do it, or I'm doing this because I'm supposed to do it, instead of doing it because you want to do it. That will be taxing your willpower also. So the important thing to understand with everything I'm saying is, if you feel like you have a weak willpower, that's not necessarily true. You don't necessarily have a weak willpower, you just have a fatigued willpower. It's been taxed in so many different ways. To give you an example, I got an email from someone the other day who's in my Body Evolve coaching program, and her response, or her email was asking a question. She goes, okay, during my menstrual cycle, I can't resist my craving. My cravings are awful, and I constantly have cravings. And part of that also is, for her, she kind of shared some information about her menstrual cycle, but she doesn't sleep very well during her menstrual cycle. She has horrible cramps. She seems to be under a little bit more stress during that time also. So by adding those 3 things on there, so not sleeping very well, having these cramps, having pain, which again taxes her willpower, eventually she's going to give into cravings because she has those extra things going on top of her normal struggles that she has, the normal stresses and strains on her body. So willpower is not necessarily weak. So your willpower may not necessarily be weak, but it just may be fatigued. So there are certain ways that we can strengthen it. So for example, just like with your muscles, we want to go and get them stronger. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're weak. It just means that we need to go and get the muscles stronger. So to do that, we go out and do some strengthening exercises. We lift weights. We challenge those muscles so they do get stronger. Now the willpower can be strengthened in a similar way. We need to challenge our willpower. So one way that we can do that, and one of the easiest ways, is to wait. That's it, just wait. So let's say you have a craving for a cookie, and instead of giving into that craving, you could say to yourself, okay, I know I'm eventually going to give into this craving, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for 15 minutes. And in 15 minutes, then I'll go ahead and eat that cookie. So just by saying I'm going to wait will strengthen your willpower, because you're still giving it, and that's fine. There's no big deal to that. But by waiting, now you're telling your body, hey, I can do this. And it actually will strengthen your willpower a little bit more. So for example, I don't know if you've ever heard of the marshmallow study. And with the marshmallow study, what they did is they had these young kids. I think they were around 5 to 6 years old or something. And they came in and brought them in this room, and they put a marshmallow in front of them. They said, hey, here's a marshmallow for you, and you can eat this marshmallow right now if you want. Or you can wait for 15 minutes, and we will give you a second marshmallow. And so you've got these kids. I mean, imagine this. These kids, some of these kids are just kind of sitting on this chair, just rocking back and forth, just staring at this marshmallow because they want to have a second one. Others are distracting themselves and over here writing in the wall or whatever, kind of, I think it was cinder block wall, and they're kind of tracing things. Others would sing a song or just avoid eye contact with not that marshmallows make eye contact, but they were avoiding looking at the marshmallow. And then others would just give in. Now, what they found, at first they, want to see how interesting was it. What did these kids have to do? Those who were able to resist it, what did they do? And part of them, they distracted themselves. Now, years later, they came back and looked at these kids to kind of see how successful they were in life. And what they found is those that were able to resist the marshmallow at a young age were also able to prolong satisfaction in other areas in their life. So when it came to like financial situations, they could either say, I can take this money now, or I can wait a little bit longer and get more money later on. I can prolong that satisfaction for a little bit later so that maybe I can get something bigger and better. And they became more successful doing that, as opposed to someone else who would give in to that instant gratification right away. They would, if they had enough money to buy a new iPod, they would run out and buy it right away. Whereas those who could resist would say, I want this iPad. I have enough money for it, but I want to save my money for something more important, something bigger, something better. And eventually I will get at that iPod. And they were able to become more successful doing that. So again, they were able to strengthen their own willpower just by waiting. So one thing you can do, make this a deliberate challenge. Make this what some people call the willpower challenge. Deliberately set something out and say, okay, I have got a bowl of my favorite treat. For me, it would be Oreos. I love Oreos. Try to avoid them as much as I can, because otherwise I'd eat them way too much, but I love Oreos. So one thing I could do would be to put a plate of Oreos out in the middle of my kitchen and say, okay, I can eat these, and I will eat these today, but I am going to let them sit there, and I'm going to wait until tonight to eat those. Or I will wait for an hour to eat those, or however long you feel you can handle, something that will be a challenge for you. But tell yourself to wait. And just doing that will strengthen your willpower. So again, to strengthen your willpower, you need to deliberately fatigue it, just like you would your muscles. To strengthen your muscles, we have to deliberately fatigue it through strength training. So do the exact same thing. Deliberately fatigue your willpower. Now, hopefully, I recommend doing this maybe later in the day when your willpower is already kind of fatigued from all the stresses of the day, but also so that you don't lash out at some of your family members or anything. But challenge your willpower, and that way your willpower will get stronger and stronger, and eventually you will be able to avoid some cravings and some things like that.
The BodyVolve Body Transformation Coaching Program is a women's-only online fat loss program where I've helped hundreds of women transform their bodies and lives. Enrollment for this program will open soon. If you have the desire to lose the excess fat you are carrying, even if you wonder if you can do it, this program will help you. If you want to see results like these women, then let me help you out. Until BodyVolve officially opens, you can either click this button or the link in the description to learn how to get control of your food cravings by working with your individual physiology, all while still being able to responsibly enjoy your favorite foods. You can look and feel the way you want, and I'm here to help you. Go ahead and click the link.